Manchester City player ratings with 5 8 out of 10s, as Donnarumma and Kusanov drive change Manchester City player ratings for the season so far, including a perfect score for Erling Haaland after a terrific start to the campaign. Things are on the up at Manchester City. 7 games unbeaten in all competitions since the last international break has changed the mood at the Etihad and started to convince supporters that this can be a successful season. Pep Guardiola still has work to do to knit together a squad that contains so many new players, but will also relish the extra competition that will be provided by stars returning from injury. The Blues have tired across games, and that should help put an end to that if there are more options from the bench. Premier League games away to Aston Villa and at home to Liverpool will test City over the next month, as well as Champions League nights against Villarreal and Dortmund, but expectations are rising. Here are how the players have rated so far for their efforts. Gianluigi Donnarumma. His deadline day signing has had a transformative effect on the defence akin to Ruben Dias in 2020, instantly making them feel more solid in a game where City increasingly face aerial bombardment from set pieces. Could have done better for the last-minute goal at Arsenal, but his performance there showed why City were willing to brutally move Ederson and James Trafford out of the way James Trafford. It does feel particularly harsh on Trafford that his only game since Brighton away has been a League Cup game at Huddersfield. He has performed very well in 2 out of 3 league games but doesn't know where his next start in the competition will come from. 7 Rico Lewis has almost disappeared to the extent that Trafford has after playing so well at Wolves on the opening day. His last league start came at home to Tottenham, and Matheus Nunes, Abdulkadir Kusanov and John Stones have all been preferred at right back since. 5 Matheus Nunes. His good can be very good, but his mistakes are still a concern, with the potential for 1 bad minutes out of 45 to completely spoil a half or a game for the team. Scored a good goal against Burnley, and it counts for something that he is keeping Lewis out. 6 Abdulkadir Kusanov 2.5 games completed, 0 goals against. Kusanov was a surprise pick at right back for the derby, but looked brilliant against United, Napoli and Arsenal before injury got him at the Emirates. An excellent start though, and a player Guardiola will be looking forward to welcoming back. 8 John Stones. He hasn't started a league game since Brighton, but thankfully has only missed 2 games through injury. City look a better team with him in it, although there is stiff competition at centre-back again. 6 Ruben Dias. Dias has taken his time to settle this season, but looks to have enjoyed Donnarumma's arrival, and also appeared to be nearing his best form in the 1-0 shutout against Brentford. Having him regularly fit again is a big plus. 7 Josko Gvardiol. Injury ruled him out for the beginning of the campaign, but he has soon settled into the centre-back role that he enjoys so much. 2 assists for Erling Haaland in the last 2 games show he is still finding a way to influence the opposition box. 7 Nico O'Reilly, like Kusanov, plunged into the team for the derby, and he hasn't looked back. O'Reilly has gone further, making 7 excellent starts that have contributed significantly to City's good run of form, and also earned him an England call. 8. Pep Guardiola faces awkward Manchester City decision as 3 key players could be dropped. Manchester City are set to find their injury issues easing after the international break, but it could present Pep Guardiola a selection problem. Quad size has been a recurring topic of debate inside Manchester City over recent months. After accepting he needed more players after an injury crisis derailed last season, Pep Guardiola cooled on the idea a little during the summer. The argument last season was that a schedule that demanded more from players than ever before made Guardiola's usual desire for a squad light on numbers an unnecessary risk. But then came the transfer window, and as the squad's size increased, Guardiola expressed concern at having to tell players they were being left out. That has always been his primary concern with having a group he considers to be too big. In the end, City probably struck a happy medium, and it hasn't caused any issues so far, but with a clean bill of health for the squad potentially in sight, Guardiola might have some of those tough decisions to make sooner rather than later. City currently have 21 first-team squad members fit and available for selection, including third-choice goalkeeper Marcus Bettinelli and midfielder Calvin Phillips, with 4 more unavailable. That quartet are Abdulkadir Kusanov, Ryan Ait-Nouri, Rodri and Omar Marmoush, but all 4 could return after this international break. Kusanov, Ait-Nouri and Marmoush have been eyeing a return soon after the October break for a while, and Rodri insisted the injury that forced him off against Brentford wouldn't sideline him for more than 2 weeks. A fully fit squad would give Guardiola 25 senior players, although that number can at least be trimmed to 23 by Bettinelli, who knows his status as third-choice goalkeeper, and Phillips, who might be relying on the Carabao Cup fourth-round tie at Swansea for another game. Even still, 23 players would then be competing for selection in a 20-man Premier League squad. It leaves 3 fall guys every weekend, and Guardiola would have to decide who they are. Let's be honest, the days when every member of that squad is available for selection will be rare. But at the moment, it does at least seem to be a distinct possibility sometime this month. So who would miss out? Ait-Nouri's return could put pressure on Nico O'Reilly, although the 20-year-old's form and versatility make him a likely squad member, allied to the fact he has made the senior England squad this week. If Kusanov is back fit as well, then Nathan Ake would surely drop out, given the defensive options in reserve. In midfield, it could be that Kovacic drops out. The Croatian is yet to play this season after Achilles surgery in the summer. Rodri, Nico Gonzalez, Tijani Reinders, Bernardo Silva, Ryan Cherki and Phil Foden offer plenty of cover in that area in a matchday squad, while Rico Lewis and O'Reilly can also play there. Finding room for Marmoush is probably a little more difficult. Guardiola will be reluctant to leave out Jeremy Doku or Savinho. Oscar Bob was impressive in the win against Brentford, but could be the player to make way entirely. Alternatively, Guardiola could cut one of his spare right-backs. If Kusanov returns to start in that role, City would have John Stones as cover, as well as Lewis and Matthias Nunes. If he wanted more attackers in the squad, one of Lewis or Nunes could make way. There are certainly options there for Guardiola, but if it ever gets to the point where he needs to leave some senior players out of a matchday squad in the Premier League, those conversations won't be easy for him either. Manchester City get major partner boost amid 115 charges verdict wait. Manchester City business continues to grow as the wait goes on for the verdict into their alleged Premier League breaches. Manchester City have announced a new deal with long-term partner Rexona, hours after striking up a new US partnership with Paramount. Unilever brand Rexona, a deodorant which is also known around the world as Sure, Degree, Shield and Rexina, first linked up with City in 2018 to sponsor the men's team before expanding in 2020 to include the women's team. The latest deal will keep Rexona as a global partner until the end of the 2026/27 campaign. Benjamin Curtis, global brand vice president for Rexona, said, "Manchester City represents the highest standards of performance and consistency, qualities that reflect everything Rexona stands for. We're excited to continue this partnership with a club that never lets up and together bring fans closer to the action through products and experiences they can count on, built on a promise that won't let them down." On Tuesday, it was announced that City were working with Paramount on a US media collaboration. As the club aims to continue its growth in one of the major global markets, combining with the home of Champions League football in that market is seen as a way of keeping and enhancing engagement for the Blues. Both deals show City moving forward, as when they agreed a new kit deal with long-term sponsors Puma in July 2025, that will be the most lucrative in Premier League history. The club have stood accused of the most serious breaches of Premier League rules for over 3 years now. A hearing took place in the last months of 2024 to consider the evidence, and a verdict is heavily anticipated but has still not arrived. With the evidence completely secret, the footballing world have been desperate for any clues that could be gleaned from the way City and the Premier League have operated in this time. City, who have insisted on their innocence from the start, have acted like normal since they were first charged. And the accusations have not stopped them from getting more business, either from existing partners such as Rexona or new collaborations such as Paramount. Rejecting Manchester United and wonder goals, Nico O'Reilly's stunning rise from Man City Academy to England. Nico O'Reilly could make his England debut tonight after just 10 Premier League starts for Manchester City, but his talent has always been clear. When he was 8, Nico O'Reilly had a decision to make. After catching the eye of scouts from all of the Northwest's biggest clubs while playing for Moston Tigers and Failsworth Dynamos, he had whittled it down to a list of 2. Casting aside Liverpool and Everton's interest, O'Reilly was now making a decision between Manchester City and Manchester United. He had trained with all four clubs, but this was time to finally commit. He had begun playing aged 3 or 4 and would play for as many grassroots clubs as he could. But when he got to under 8s and under 9s, the Premier League competition for him was fierce. I chose City because the training was a lot better, he explained to the Man City podcast recently. And it's a decision that has worked out for both O'Reilly and his boyhood club. The 20-year-old is from a family of split allegiances in Manchester, but his mum and sister were Blues, and so is he. He is undoubtedly City's breakout star of 2025. At the turn of the year, his first team experience amounted to a debut in the Community Shield at Wembley, 2 Carabao Cup starts, and 9 minutes off the bench in a Champions League rout against Sparta Prague. He came on for Erling Haaland that day, and his future seemed to lie further up the pitch, but this might just be the year that changes everything. O'Reilly might still fancy himself as the attacking midfielder who used to prize open games in the academy, but now his country and his club could have other ideas. In the build-up to the 8-0 FA Cup third-round win against Salford City in January, Pep Guardiola